Howdy y'all, and welcome to this special spring outlook. I know most of y'all are already sick of winter, and before we get started with this spring outlook, just a disclaimer here that we cannot predict the future, as anything over a week out is virtually impossible to forecast. Now first, before we get into the weather models and my thoughts on what we could expect for this upcoming spring, here are the key factors that will influence our spring weather. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to overcomplicate any of this as I made it really simple here for y'all. But the ENSO pattern for springtime from March all the way into May, we're going to be in a La Niña, which is going to be declining into a ENSO-neutral pattern, which is a 60% chance from February all the way into April, which is going to be favoring some warmer temperatures later on. Now QBO, this is more in line with the polar vortex, which we dealt with in January and in the beginning of February. Looking like we're going to be in the easterly negative phase, which means that we could still come in on the polar vortex this spring, but mainly in the north. Now the NAO, as you can see up here in the top right, we're going to be in a negative phase, which is going to be meaning that we could be in a stormy east in the early spring, and we're going to be shifting neutral. And my thoughts are, I think, we'll get into this in a little bit as well, but I think we're going to be dealing with an active severe weather season here to start, but at the end, I don't think it's going to be very active at all, but we'll get into that here in a little bit. But the AO, a little bit more complicated, but it's going to be near neutral to positive, which means limited widespread cold, but possible episodes of cold air in the north. Now the MJO, it's going to be moderate to strong, which enhances precipitation in the western and central part of the country, which means that we could be dealing with some severe weather here in the south and midwest. Now the PDO is going to be negative in a cool phase, which means a drier central plains and cooler Pacific Northwest. The AMO is going to be positive and warm, means a warmer east coast, elevated severe weather in the southeast, and of course the solar activity, which may actually not sound too realistic, but it does play a role in our weather. We are currently in active cycle 25, which means we're going to be dealing with subtle upper atmospheric effects on the temperatures. So basically, we're going to be in an ENSO-neutral phase as we head into springtime with a negative NAO, which means basically that we could be coming in on an active severe weather season here this spring. But we'll get into that here in a little bit. First, we're going to take a look at the weather models here. We're going to take a look at all of the seasonal models, which is really actually just 3 of them. We're going to take a look at the precipitation and temperature anomalies, basically whether or not we're going to be above or below average as far as temperatures or precipitation goes. Then I'll show you the expert guidance at the Climate Protection Center, give you my thoughts on what we could expect, and then we'll get into the facts, folklore, and my bold prediction. So to start, we're going to take a look at the Euro seasonal. We're going to take a look at the precipitation first. As you can see, we're going to be looking from March all the way into May, which the Euro seasonal is showing us that we're going to be really soggy here in the central and eastern part of the country, although some parts could be dry, like Florida, for example, Louisiana, parts of Texas, parts of Virginia, but overall, eastern half of the country is looking to be very soggy, while the western half of the country is looking to be very dry, unless you live up here in the Pacific Northwest. Now, what about the CSV2 model? This is my favorite model, by the way, and you can see why. It very clearly states where the above and below average precipitation is going to be at here, and we can see for the next 3 months, we can see the central and really much of the country really is heading into an above average precipitation pattern, which could mean severe weather and flooding here, down south, and here in the Midwest, although parts of the Pacific Northwest and some parts of the Northeast and upper Midwest could be a little bit dry. This is the only model that differs from the Euro seasonal. Now, what about the CANCIP seasonal? Well, this model is very different from the other two. You can see February, March, and April. Looking like the eastern part of the country is going to be very dry, while the western part of the country is going to be very dry, while the upper Midwest and northern plains is going to be a little bit soggy, as well as here in the south central part of the country. Head off into April, May, and June. Really, I would say much of the same story, except it's looking like the southeast and south central and a little bit of the southwest coming in on above average precipitation. So which model would I be in agreement with as far as precipitation goes? Well, kind of biased here, but I think the CSV2 is pretty spot on. As we head back into the key factors here, we can see NAO, which means that we could be dealing with a stormy east in early spring, and the MJO is also showing severe weather risks in the south and midwest, which could also mean flooding as well, so keep that in mind. So basically the central and eastern part of the country is going to be coming in on a very soggy weather pattern. And speaking of the NAO, we have to take a look at the Atlantic basin here. We can see the dark blues here means a NAO negative, which pretty much means that we're going to be coming in on a very soggy and stormy spring here along the central and eastern part of the country. So now that I beat the dead horse on the precipitation, go ahead and get into the expert guidance at the Climate Prediction Center, because you can see they issued this on February 19th, and they're showing us that the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and literally the Mid-South is going to be coming in on above average precipitation. I would be in agreement with this, while the Southwest is going to be coming in on below average precipitation. Now keep in mind, some models were showing the Southwest coming in on above average precipitation, but of course I would stick with what the experts are showing us, with above average precipitation here in the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley and below average here in the Southwest. But of course equal chances means either above or below average, and I would think that the central and eastern part of the country is going to be coming in on above average precipitation, while the western part of the country is going to be dealing with below average precipitation other than the Pacific Northwest. But of course, subject to change. Please take this with a grain of salt. This is a long-range forecast model. It's subject to change. Now, before we get into my thoughts on what we could expect overall, let's go ahead and get into the temperatures of what we could expect. And starting off with the Euro-seasonal, typically has a warmer bias overall. And you can see that here clearly that much of the country is heading into a warming trend for the next 3 months. Now, what about the CSV2? Well, you can see clearly here that this model does not have a warm bias, as it's showing the eastern half of the country is going to be a little bit cooler than normal, while the western part of the country is going to be a little bit warmer than normal. So this basically means that we're going to have a late start to spring if the CSV2 verifies, which actually, surprisingly, I would be in agreement with that, because usually that's how it goes. And this usually results in severe weather, by the way, as well. Now, what about the CANSIPs? Well, showing the northern half of the country is coming in on below average temperatures, while the rest of the country is coming in on above average. And this also includes the northeast as well. So if I had to choose which model to go off of, I would probably be in agreement with this one, because I think that we're probably going to have a late start to spring, as we did have a late start to winter, because it was a little bit warmer than normal here in December, especially right around Christmas time. So I think spring is going to be cooler than normal for us out east, which means an uptick in severe weather to start off spring. But I think at the end of spring, I think it's going to start to wind down a little bit as the temperatures start to stabilize. So what do the experts have to say? Well, the CANSIPS model is in agreement with what the experts have to say, as the southern half of the country can be above average, while the upper Midwest is really the only place that's going to be below average. Equal chances means either above or below average, but of course I would be in agreement with, as I said earlier, I think we're going to be coming in on a late start to spring. So my bold prediction on what we could expect this spring is basically, I think we're going to be dealing with an early and intense severe weather season. Tornado activity is going to pick up right around 20 to 30% above average, peaking in mid-April. And this is all going to be driven by ENSO transition to neutral, an active MJO phase, which is going to be clashing with lingering cold air. Hence why I said we're going to be coming in on a late start to spring. And the highest risk is going to be in the Midwest and plains. And what does this year resemble? Well, this spring is going to resemble 2017. Why? Well, weekly Niña is going to be transitioning to ENSO-neutral by spring, as I said earlier, an easterly QBO and negative to neutral NAO, warmer than normal temperatures in the central and eastern part of the country in the later half of spring, drier Midwest, which is going to be leading to early drought signals, which usually when we come into El Nino, usually we come in on dry summers, but we'll have a summer outlook up probably, I would say, by June, so stay tuned for that. And of course, an elevated severe weather outbreak in April. So 2017 resembles what this spring could look like, so if this holds true, then I think we're going to have a late start to spring, active start to spring as well, but I think we're going to end spring on a dry note and a hot note as well. So shifting gears here, here's a fun fact that you probably either knew or not knew about spring. The spring equinox starts on March 20th, of course. Nearly equal daylight and darkness will be seen worldwide, right around 12 hours each, which triggers rapid shifts in weather instability. For this year, this aligns with ENSO transition, heightening temperature swings and severe storms in the central and eastern U.S. Now, some folklore that relates to this spring includes thunder in spring, cold will bring, which means early thunderstorms often precede cold fronts and late frost. And here is a graphic of when the typical last freeze is, and here is also a graphic of when the birds start coming up, because they'll be coming up here very soon, as well as the hummingbirds. So make sure you get out those bird feeders and hummingbird feeders, as well as we did have a lot of birds here when we had that big snowstorm. They got into our chicken run and ate all the chicken feed, and we filled up the bird feeders, and they pretty much ate all that as well. So again, make sure you put those bird feeders out and fill them all up, because those birds are probably going to be hungry when they migrate back north. But for this year, this folklore matches because of an early severe weather season, 20 to 30% above average tornado risk in mid-April, followed by cold intrusions in the Midwest and the north. So basically what I expect here is basically with an ENSO-neutral pattern persisting through spring as we transition out of La Nina into ENSO-neutral, I think we're going to be dealing with a late spring. So the groundhog is going to be correct on that, which means that we could be dealing with an amped up severe weather season to start, but I think at the end of severe weather season, it's going to start to wind down a little bit, and I think we're going to be a little bit drier and warmer than normal we stick with the historical analog dating back to 2017. And as we take a look back at the expert guidance at the Climate Prediction Center, we can see clearly here, southern half of the country above average, northern half of the country I would expect to be below average, hence why I say we could be coming in on a late start to spring. But keep in mind that as we take a look at the precipitation outlook here, we could be dealing with an active start to severe weather season. And of course, as we take a look at my favorite model here for the next 3 months, it's going to be coming in on a cooler than normal spring here out east, while the western part of the country is going to be coming in on a warmer than normal spring. And as we take a look at the precipitation, we can see we don't have to have severe thunderstorms to have severe weather. We can also have a lot of flooding going on as well, hence why it's going to be above average here in the central and eastern part of the country. So pretty much it's going to be a very active start to the spring, and it's going to be a little bit cool to start as well, but I think the activity is going to start to wind down, and we're going to start to dry out and warm up drastically here in the central and eastern part of the country as we head into the end of spring. So again, I hope each and every one of y'all enjoyed this spring outlook and got a lot out of it, by the way. If you did, please make sure you hit that like and share button, because it helps more than you know and helps others see this forecast video as well. And also, leave some feedback in the comment section down below, as any feedback helps provide you, the viewer, better and more informative content in the future. And also, if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button down below, as at Here Wins Weather, we try to make weather forecasting fun and informative. So basically, like I was saying earlier, could be coming in on a very active start to spring and a little bit cool start as well, but I think we're going to warm up drastically and start drying out, and the severe weather is going to start to wind down as we head into the latter half of spring. So again, like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate all y'all for watching. And as a side note here, y'all probably saw the little animation on the top left here of the video, and I will put that here at the end of this video for y'all to enjoy. So again, like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate all of y'all for watching. Have a great spring, y'all, and until next time, never stop forecasting.
Fuck time change!
That was close! Time to chase those storms! Let's go!
Oh, damn, this is getting serious. I need to go. Major tornado outbreak potential today. Ah, fuck, it's Duck Donald's. I am starving, though. Maybe Hooters will be a treat tonight if I catch a twister. I hate this fucking Duck Donald's, so the food better be fucking fresh!
This order better fucking be correct.
Those stupid bastards! They shorted me a duck nugget! You stupid bastards shorted me a duck nugget! I want a full refund!
What are you laughing at?
I'm taking my business elsewhere!
I pissed in his drink for being such an asshole.
No
He totally deserved it.
This storm is gonna shit the bed, damn it!
And this burger is cold.
This drink tastes like piss!
I pissed in his drink for being an asshole.
Yes! A tornado warning! Now where's my laptop? I need it! Aha! There it is! Finally, let's get rolling! Woo! Whoa, holy shit! I gotta get out of here! It's heading towards me! What the hell, you idiot? What the duck is this dumbass doing? You stupid son of a bitch! Learn how to drive, you stupid son of a bitch!
Finally, a nice hot meal with some beautiful women. I earned this tonight.
This is way better than Duck Donald's. These wings are hot and the beer's cold. You're cute. What's your number?
Yes, of course. It's 8675309. Sucky, I love you long time! Get his horny ass out of here! Well, mister, maybe you should have asked me on a date before smacking my butt. Now you're in horny jail. Happy April Fool's, Buster.
Please, let me out.
You've been in there long enough. I saw your Twister footage on the news.